You are listening to the Glenn Beck Radio Program podcast.
Do you run a small business? Do you want it to grow? Of course you do. Then don't let your business slow down or shut down because you lost your computer files. Get Carbonite and your files will be backed up to the cloud for you, automatically and continually. Plus, Carbonite lets you and your employees be more productive with free mobile apps that let you access, sync, and share your files. And Carbonite knows that in order to grow, and when you use the offer code THEBLAZE, you'll get 2 free bonus months if you decide to buy. That's Carbonite.com. And the offer code for 2 free bonus months is THEBLAZE. Carbonite.com. Offer code THEBLAZE.
The story doesn't make any sense. For the longest time, we didn't report on it because we were like, okay, there's got to be something that we're missing. What is it that we're missing here? There's got to be something. No, we're not missing. We talked to her father yesterday, spent 2 days with him. No, I don't think we're missing anything. Yesterday we had him on the program and we're going to play some more, and he's going to join us again. Because there is an update. Because he was on this broadcast yesterday and television on Monday, DCF has filed that he be held in contempt of court. He may go to jail, but somebody has to stand in the gap. Because all they have to do is silence people. See, I've done this business long enough to know now. I know how this stupid game works. If they get you to shut up, then there is no story. It's like they'll lose their livelihood. They'll possibly go to jail. How come nobody on the border says anything? Because they'll be killed and nobody will stand up for them. They'll just disappear in the middle of the night. A drug lord will come and order their execution. They'll lose their family. Marriage. I don't hate. You're a hate monger. Shut up. Sit down. And that's what happens. And so we do. Joe Wilson. The president gets up and says, and, there are those who say that this isn't going to be used. This is going to be used to give health care to illegals. That's absolutely untrue. Joe Wilson stands up and says, liar. Oh my gosh, he called the president a liar. And he is. I was in Tampa. And I was against Terri Schiavo. I said she has no quality of life. I give all the progressive excuses. She has no quality of life. I wouldn't want to live that way. Said the only reason why this was really a national story is because we made it one. The only reason why you know Terri Schiavo's name is because we introduced her to the nation. Because I didn't credibility. You can't do that. Just don't talk about it anymore. And you see, this is why they are silencing Lou. Because if he dries up as a source, if he's not allowed to talk, well, then there are no sources. And the state will say, well, we are bound. We can't talk about it at all. For the good of the child, we can't talk about it anymore. And meanwhile, Dad will be rotting in jail, so Dad won't say anything, and Mom won't say anything because Mom's got to be there for her other sick children. And so what will happen? The story will be lost. In this particular case, the press is literally trying to bury the story. Now, many people in the media are on this story now. There are some people that want to tell this story, but I can tell you right now, they don't have the passion that I have, because I beg of you, please don't let this story please don't let this story end the way the Terry Schiavo story ended. We are much stronger than we ever were before. You want to make a difference? This is the one you can make a difference. With a footprint now, I just heard this last night. The footprint is now not 30 million people a month. The total footprint, I was told last night, of this audience is 50 million people a month. That is 50 million to the audience in 2002. I can say this to you now. You don't need me. You don't need anybody else. You don't need the mainstream media. With 50 million people in this footprint, all you need to do is all of it. And everybody's going to say the same thing. Well, there's got to be something. I'm telling you, here's the worst thing that you're going to find out. Here it is. That mom and dad were in the hallway, and they said, we're not treating her for that anymore. You don't have a right. This is kidnapping. Help! Help! That's what happened. That's what happened. And so the state says, well, there's a parent that's completely out of control. Help me! Somebody help me! Now you tell me that that's not what you would do. We're not America anymore, gang. I don't know what we are currently. I know where we're headed. We're not America, but I'm still an American. I don't know what the country is, but I know who I am. And this is wrong. Who will stand in the gap if they put Joe in jail, or Lou in jail? If they put Lou in jail, if they take what little money he has left away from him, who will stand in the gap? Who will be Justina's voice? I will. But one cannot do it. Let's show them the good we can do. Let's reach across to our friends and neighbors who disagree with us and say, look, this is my job. Please don't call me and tell me what we can do. Just do it. Twitter, Facebook, just do it. Free Justina.com.
Glenn Beck.
The Blaze Radio Network.
Even if there is something, let's have it. Because this is still America and they have a right to face their accusers. Tell us what it is, get it out there, stop with the bull crap, and say it. You can't just take a family's daughter from them and just say, nope, they're unfit. Based on what? Mm-hmm. You can't do that in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, and there isn't one, but even if there were, this is still wrong. This is still unconstitutional. This is still un-American.
So Stu asked me, he's like, what is the worst, really, Glenn? Is there something that for legal reasons or anything that we shouldn't say on the air or we can't say on the air? Come on, give me the no, there is nothing. There is nothing. Nothing. These people are not necessarily the most cuddly family you've ever met. That's as bad as it gets. They are not necessarily cuddly when it comes to someone. Come on, there's got to be something. You know what that is? That's America speaking to you. That's what you think this country is.
That's how deeply
Wake
it's felt.
up, America. Have you seen we're killing people with drones without a trial? We're not that country anymore. Wake up. Wake up. This isn't about politics. We can change this one. But we need to all stand together. Let's just focus and do one thing together and save a girl's life.
Open, they have, psychologists. The first thing they want to do is prove whatever they think the issue is.
Right.
And when you get big facilities like that, between Tufts and Boston. They have differing opinions, and not all of them agree, and they get this complex. Well, that's Tufts, and we're children. So
right, and that
both of those facilities. And I really would love to champion this cause more, but because we frequent those facilities, it's difficult for me.
And Andy has just told you the reason why I am relying on you. Because nobody in Massachusetts will fix this problem, because Children's Hospital is Harvard. DCF is the state. DCF looks to Children's Hospital for all of its medical advice.
They employ everybody.
And everybody's hands wash everybody's hands. And so what Andy just said, I can't champion this any more than I already am. And that's why it takes people out of the system and out of the state to make a difference, because there's nobody. I mean, Joe, my attorney, came to me this morning and said, Glenn, you got to get on the phone with some of the guys, some of the legislators in Massachusetts. And I said, there's a state that just reelected Barney Frank over and over and over and over again. You kidding me? You think those people don't even understand what justice is? Do you think they even understand things that aren't corrupt? Yeah, you know what? I tell you what, I want a fair trial. I'm going to go to Philadelphia. And when I'm done in Philadelphia, then I'm going to go to Chicago, and I'm going to meet with the good city hall people in Chicago after I've met with the people. And then after that, I'm going to go to Washington, D.C., and I'm going to meet with the mayor of Washington, D.C., because they're completely drug-free. Yeah, right. So it's going to take you to be able to fight for this. Now, on the White House, I mean, they need 100,000 signatures, and it's really kind of And
then they're supposedly bound to talk about it.
Yeah, they're bound to respond to it. If you think that the president is actually going to help, you're sadly mistaken. I don't put my name on a government website because I'm going to get Google address up there on the White House. And while you're at it, why don't you get a go
ahead and get a credit card at Capital One.
Capital One. Go ahead and get that.
Sign their new contract.
Sign up for iTunes. Just hit agree on everything you see. Just hit agree today.
And we're changing your long distance service without your authorization.
Look, I mean, we got to do everything we can. Do everything we can, and I'm not going to poo-poo anybody's idea. There is on whitehouse.gov right now, there's a petition. They need 100,000 names. I wish I knew more Mickey Mouses, but sign up. Let me go to Rick in St. Louis. Hello, Rick.
Hi, Glenn. Thank you so much. I won't be long. I don't Twitter, I don't Facebook or tweet or whatever, but I am online. I'm an old fogey. I use the telephone. If we're 50 million strong around the country, and I'm in St. Louis, if we're 50 million strong, I'll be one of the people to start calling Harvard University, calling the hospital, calling the governor's office, calling DFS. Let's blow those switchboards out of the water with people every phone call saying free Justina, free Justina. Why not?
I don't have a problem with that.
Hybrid you. Somewhere on the place, can you post the phone numbers for these different places so old fogies like me can get on the phone and blow these people out of the water?
I will tell the newsroom to get on that right now. Thank you very much. I will tell you that at a meeting I had this morning, I said, I don't care if only 4 people read the story. I want this to be the lead story on the Blaze. From here on out, it's in the carousel. Find every reason to talk about it. Turn over every stone. Show me everything that people can do and are doing. Put it in there. And I don't care. I don't care. If nobody's reading the story, I don't care. This is the most important story to me. Because you have a chance. You have the opportunity to save a woman's life. You have a chance. I know who the country is. When I look at Stu came in the break and he said, well, that wasn't what it means to the rest of the world. I don't know. I don't care. I'm down to this. You're not changing me. Shoot me in the head if you have to. You're not changing me. Long live the Republic. If they change you, then the fundamental transformation of this country is complete. And they've already changed a lot of us. They already have. They've made us dependent on them. We've gone soft inside. And that I have to change as well. Because the opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference. We have to become indifferent to them. I don't care what you say we are. They're done with that. We're taking down the Lincoln Memorial and we're putting Che's head right on Abe. See, this is who we are. I don't really care. I don't care. I'm not about the buildings. I'm not about the flag. I'll burn the flag every day. In fact, I'm really considering burning the flag. I may do a show really super soon where I burn the flag. And if you don't like it, then maybe you should figure out what the flag means. That's what we're all about. I don't care what happens to the Capitol building. The Capitol building could fall in disrepair and crumble to the ground. That's not America. That's not America. You're America. What you believe, evidence that it's not true. Tell me, show me how this government is behaving in a way consistent with the values in the Constitution, which is its governing document. It is its charter. I'm sorry. If I have a charter that says, hey, we're a cruise line and we put people on boats and we take them on vacations, you might still have principles. No matter what anybody else says or does. See, what they don't understand is they've tried to do this through progressive steps. And it has worked very, very well. But because you've given us time, we now know things that we didn't know 10 years ago. You could have destroyed the country and restarted it as a whole new country. And many of us wouldn't have known. You could have just replaced the Constitution. You could have replaced whole sections of it, and we wouldn't have known. We didn't care. You did. You did. You put the Patriot Act in. And we walked right alongside you going, yep, that's the right thing to do. You can't do that anymore. Because you took it in progressive steps. And we have freaking out. No. They do this every time. Sponsor this half hour is FreedomWorks. You really think we're the same country? Let's just talk about the NSA spying. You really think we're the United States of America? Really? That we grew up loving? See, it has been ingrained in us so deeply. I have a hard time saying the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. I pledge allegiance to the flag? No, I don't. I don't pledge allegiance to that flag. I pledge allegiance to the principles that are outlined, the eternal truths that are in our founding documents. I'll pledge my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor to that. Flag? No, I don't think so. Because what's that flag? That flag is on every little briefcase. It's on every little lapel pin of everybody who works for the NSA. That's not America. That's what they've turned it into. The NSA is snooping on you every way they possibly can. No, lawyer, you would say to the president, and he would say, oh, we're not listening. No. But now Lou, Justina's father, if the state wants to do things that you would say in your private life, but he's not doing anything wrong. You know, you're not doing anything wrong. What was Justina doing? What was Justina's parents doing? Nothing. They didn't do anything wrong, and they had the state take their child from them.
Glenn Beck.
Who do you bet does it first? I say it's Mediaite. Mediaite's the first one to do it.
Oh, they're not the worst of the bunch at all, though.
No, but who's the first?
The first one to
who's
do
the
it.
First?
You
should check. It's probably up now. It's probably up now. Back in a second.
The Glenn Beck Program.
The Blaze Radio Network. What you're about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Yesterday, we had Justina's father on. Justina is that girl that. But what would you do? What would you do? And when I say they said that you can't speak out about it, Lou was on the air with us yesterday. And what happened? Today, the attorneys in Boston for DCF has filed that he be held in contempt of court for violating a gag order. Can I ask, would you violate a gag order if you thought somebody was killing your daughter? Do you have a right to speak out if you think somebody is killing your daughter? Isn't that a God-given natural right? I believe it is. I don't think any state has the right to take that away from you. But you're not living in the United States of America that you understand anymore. And everybody will say there's got to be something wrong with this family. There's got to be something wrong here. No, there's not. ABC just did a segment on this the other day, ABC Television, Good Morning America. They came to the same conclusion that I have come to. No, what's wrong here is Boston Children's Hospital and the state of Boston and Harvard University. That's what's happening here. I can't believe that Lou is coming on again, but he is on the phone with us now from Connecticut. Hello, Lou.
Good morning, Glenn. And again, many, many thanks to you and your team for spreading the word of Justina's nightmare.
So what happened? When did you hear?
Has filed the contempt of court for speaking to the media, which violates the gag order.
And the punishment for that is what?
It can either be a civil punishment, but it could be criminal.
So speaking out to try to save your daughter, you could, a civil punishment would mean they'll fine you.
Correct.
Which, good news is, I don't know if you know this, you don't have anything left anyway. So good luck collecting that one. But the other is you could go to jail. How long could you go to jail for?
Don't know.
Do you know now
Sure.
what's gonna happen? I mean, how do you fight this? What do you have to go to court now? Because you're
as of now,
doing it
we
again.
still have a regular court date session scheduled for February 24th, this coming Monday. I have not heard if we need to be there earlier, because the first time when this whole gag order issue came out, which was November 17th, I literally had to hop in a car and get to Boston within 2 hours to be in front of the judge. So who knows if they'll wait till Monday, the next scheduled court date, or they'll try to do something sooner.
All right,
people out there, because we are fighting the two-headed monster, the ultimate David against Goliath, state of Massachusetts and DCF, Harvard and Boston Children's Hospital. And their pockets are pretty deep. So again, many, many thanks to everybody that's contributed.
Well, I want you to know, Lou, that I was in the meeting this morning, and we wanted to call and verify what we had heard, that, you were getting hit from DCF, and I instructed the Blaze and all of my entire media empire, if you will, the Blaze television.
Because there's other pieces, too, that also need to come out. Because, it's so hard, even in an hour, to try to explain the length of what's going on. One of the things I didn't even mention, when Justina was 6 or 7, she had a stroke, which we didn't even know about. It was the left side of her brain. It was a massive stroke, severely impacted her short-term memory. So one of the things is stress, that little thing.
Well, is there anything that anything that we can do right now? Anything you want to share before we let you go and spend time with your attorneys, who I'm sure you were going to be spending time with?
Biggest thing is, as I said yesterday, there are people with the power to stop this now. The governors of both states, they'll hide behind their legal things, but the governors, the attorney generals, the DC, so many other websites have been spawned.
What do you mean you're not? What do you mean you're not allowed to add anything to that?
When that gag order was issued, first of all, we knew nothing of it. It was said in a sidebar, basically. We were just told to not add anything to the Free Justina to the A Miracle for Justina. And then this whole idea that we can't speak to the media and all this stuff, was not said directly to us, which, I thought we had a thing called the First Amendment. And that's why we're at the stage we're at right now, making sure that we get, but if you just Google mass DCF and Deval Patrick, he's had a few other things going on in his plate up there.
Yeah.
Kids, they're a third of the mass DCF social workers not licensed. Kids dying left and right under their watch. You can just pick your top. They're trying to get rid of Olga Roche, the DCF commissioner, who Deval Patrick is, backing to the nth degree. So I think that's been taking up a little bit of his time versus a story of a child that, not even from his state, that they have full control over.
Good news is people are starting to move here, Lou. Right now on Twitter nationally, the hashtag Free Justina is trending for the first time that we know of. And that's the people just starting to wake up on the story and just starting to hear about it. So at least there's some positive momentum.
Can I tell you something, Lou? I thought about this morning in the meeting. As you're sitting there in bed at night, and if you're anything like my wife and I, we'll go to bed and that's when we really start to talk, and I have to believe that there have been times when you have said, we have got to speak out. We have got to do this. We're going to post on A Miracle for Justina. We're going to do it. And you had the argument back and forth, honey, you can't, because it'll make things worse. And if you make things worse, then what good are you? And we've got to keep the family going. I mean, you have had to have those conversations with your wife.
Many times, because it's a double-edged sword. Can something happen to me? Well, I'll take the bullet for that. That's verifiable and identifiable. Hidden, holidays and things where everybody else could see their families and talk to them. She was never allowed to see or talk to them on Easter, Mother's Day, you name it. So tell me that they haven't had their own agenda for Justina from the get-go.
Lou, people are going to start listening to this probably for the first time. This will start to hit people in a different way. And I know my wife said this. I know Pat's wife said this.
Of this situation. Number one is the doctor who diagnosed her, Dr. Corson from Tufts Medical Center. He's the one that officially diagnosed, Jessica, Justina's older sister, with a medical a biopsy to prove that she has mitochondrial disease. So Dr. Corson, who's been treating her successfully for almost 2 years, has not been allowed to have any involvement in her care. Number two, the doctor she came to see, who transferred from Tufts to Boston Children's just a month earlier, who Dr. Corson wanted her to see because he was involved with her whole stomach scenario, her GI system. Dr. Flores came into the room, gave my daughter a big hug, gave my wife a big hug. In the blink of an eye, a social worker came into the room, literally grabbed Dr. Flores by the collar and dragged him out.
Wow.
This is the world we've been fighting. This is the world we've been dealing with. It's like at times you wonder, is the whole world crazy and we're the only sane ones, or maybe we're the crazy ones? You get to a point where left and right, DCF, the legal system, the judges, but no gag order. It wasn't until the local Fox Connecticut station aired the story on November 17th, 7 months after the Globe announced they were going to publish a story, that a gag order came out. So why was there no gag for 7 months when the largest newspaper in Massachusetts was going to print something, but then Fox Connecticut is going to air something and all hell breaks loose? Those are the things that just make you shake your head, among so many other things.
Lou, thank you so much. We'll talk again.
Glenn, Stu, God bless America.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye. And I notice here, and I think this is important to point out, he didn't thank Pat.
No. That's twice now.
I know.
Pat's done nothing.
He's done nothing. He's not.
He's a big zero on the story.
I'm about to turn on him.
Boston Children's Hospital has a great point here.
It's a world-renowned hospital. I don't know if you know that.
Wait a minute, Pat. What happened? You won't say that.
It's got to be something else. Think about it. This is America.
Actually, over this long of an interview, over several days, you'd find something.
You would. You'd have it. Has he seemed unreasonable?
No.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
The fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
The Blaze Radio Network.
Glenn Beck.
So Stu just came in. We have somebody on the phone from Florida who has a great idea on how we can all help. Because I asked you last hour, what can we do to help this family? Lou might go to jail. They might be penalized even more and lose even more of their money. I mean, they have nothing. They're taking care of their 90-year-old mother-in-law and another child with disabilities. I mean, what else can you do to this family?
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
The Blaze Radio Network.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Okay, let me go to Kim in Florida. Hello, Kim. You're on the Glenn Beck Program.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi.
How are you?
Very good.
I've been through a range of emotions today. I have cried. I have gotten angry. I've laughed when you made fun of Stu. And I've tried to figure out what more I can do. I've shared the story on Facebook. I have donated some money. And while I was listening to you, I kind of did what you told me to and used the internet, because it is my internet too, and looked up on the Children's Hospital page and the Facebook page and just did some research. And there is a huge donor wall made out of crystal at the Boston Children's Hospital where it lists the names of every single donor that has ever donated to that hospital. And I'd be so curious to know if those donors know what that hospital is doing to this poor child and this family. Then you can go a little bit further. You can go, this is all public information. I'm not real computer literate, and I was able to find it. You can go to the Children's Hospital. The hospital has a league. They just had a black tie ball in December, and they raised almost $14 million. There's pictures of moms in black ties raising money for this hospital. It's all public. It's on their Facebook page. Do they know what this hospital?
I think this is the best idea I have heard yet.
Sure is. Hit them where they live.
Yeah, because nobody
this is what
wants
the left
to,
does.
yeah,
right?
And nobody wants to be involved in controversy or anything else. And you're giving money, and all of a sudden you're starting to get hit with all of these people saying, "Hey, do you know the hospital you just gave to has kidnapped a child and is embroiled in something where, it will up the ante a great deal." But I will tell you that if you just politely share this,
that's what I was going to say. Be respectful.
Yeah, if you are respectful and polite, if you don't, they will harden themselves. But if you are,
because we'll be these wacko people. But if you're respectful and you're just saying, "Hey, do you know what's going on? Can you explain this? If this was your child, it makes me cry if it was one of my daughters. This poor man, what he's been through." And
brilliant idea, looking at the list of donors of the hospital and being very polite and tracking them down and asking them, what do you know about this? Can you help? Can you find out? Because they'll listen to you because you're a donor. I don't expect to get a real answer from the hospital, because the hospital has been saying, well, we can't get involved in this. You just have to trust us. We can't say anything because of gag orders, of course. We can't say a word about it. It'll be bad for the child. And then what they also will say is, child's been transferred, no longer at Children's Hospital. Mm-hmm. And has been transferred to a care facility that doesn't offer any medical treatment. Why is she even there? It was sent her home.
So if you're ready with that information, yeah, I know. You transferred her to a place where there's no medical help for her. So
right. And she's in a wheelchair where she was walking when she came in, and now she's in a wheelchair. And by the way, why is mom and dad, if there's something wrong, why has the Department of Children and Families of Connecticut been over to this family's house over and over and over again? They have another child with special needs, and they're taking care of a 90-year-old woman, the mother-in-law. So they're taking care of a really old person, another child with special needs.
You're allowing these monsters,
right,
to take care of these people.
Really? Why?
Okay.
Why? How could you let that go on?
Yeah.
You should take away everybody. If they are Munchausen by proxy in one child, what about all the other children?
Doesn't make sense.
How does this work?
Just doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up at all. At all. So
again, calmly, but just know the facts.
Right. Let me go to Sheldon. Hello, Sheldon. You're on the Glenn Beck program.
Thank you, Pat, for taking my call.
Thank you, Sheldon.
And then Sheldon calls it Pat said.
Glenn, I live in Massachusetts, and the one part of this story that hit home with me is DCF is embroiled in a huge controversy in Lou Gatehouse that have called for Olga Roche to resign. The governor turns his back on it and says, we won't do anything about this. And now when I hear Lou talk about the social worker pulling the doctor out, meanwhile, on the other hand, they're ignoring whole families and a little boy that's gone missing. So this is a scary agency that's trying to impose their will, and it seems to me that this for them is a softball where they can come to the people of Massachusetts who are left-leaning, and they'll look at it and say, geez, they're doing the right thing. They're protecting this little girl from her family.
So you think that they're actually doing this as a PR stunt?
I live in Massachusetts. You mentioned Barney Frank. We have Elizabeth Warren. We have the cuckooest of the cuckoo in this state. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if they spin this to say, hey, we're helping this girl out. Her family wants to take her out of Children's Hospital, which in Massachusetts, in Boston, is held in high regard. And it has been a great hospital and done a lot of things for children. But I think that they can use this to give themselves some good PR.
Unbelievable. Sheldon, thank you very much for your phone call. Let me go to James in Arizona. Hello, James.
Hi, Glenn. Look, you need to tell Lou to get the book Profane Justice. It tells you step by step of what they're going to do to you. I wouldn't be surprised if 3 months from now they're going to ask Lou to divorce his wife in order for him to get the child back. They do all. I could not believe that came up in my case. I got out of Arizona. This happened in 2006 for me. They pulled the baby off my wife's breast when she was feeding him. And the social workers had no qualms. And they said, we're going to put him back in the same place where he got beat up last time. These people don't take care about kids. If your kid was in mortal danger, they'd leave him there. And then they would get on TV and cry, oh, the poor baby, if we could only had more help and more money, we could have saved that child. That's not what they do. They let them die, and then they get on TV and cry for advertisement and money. It's a racket. Now, Arizona has straightened up their act. The new governor over there is doing a great job. But when the Homeland Security lady, whatever, I don't even want to say her name anymore, when she was governor, it was a totally different story. And that's...
What was your case?
Oh, I had an older child that supposedly molested some children of mine. And when they took him away and put him in jail, they came and got the rest of the kids 3 or 4 days later. There was no reason to take my other children away. They said, we failed to protect. We had no idea what was going on. We didn't find out until we got our kids back. And it was all by the grace of God that we got our kids back. I'm telling you, we came within months of them permanently removing them. There's a deadline. If they stay in custody for a certain amount of time, they automatically roll over to the state's custody. So you really need to get that book and start finding out what they've been doing this a decade. This is not new. People start looking at me, what did you do to your children? It's not what I did, it's what the state did. And people, there's got to be more to it, there's got to be more. And you look like you just a child molester, but that's not it. It's the way the system works. And it's all secret. We had to take down our website. They ordered a guardian ad litem to my wife if she mentioned one more time about how this all started, because it all started with lies. I got cases of papers. They probably weigh over 60 pounds they have reams and boilerplates, which just all they changed is the name and the date.
They eventually did return your children to you? How long did it take?
Well, it was over a year.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Did your children ever recover from that?
I never got my children back. I got my children back, but they're not the same kids. I had one that went to bed every night for years. I had another one that has totally turned his back on religion. I have my older son. They put him in a boot camp because he wouldn't say anything. They wanted to force him to say something bad about me so they could take my kids away. They said, if you don't say anything bad, if you don't have anything on your father, we're going to put you in this boot camp.
Was he?
He wouldn't say it. And they said, so they started the tape, and they said, what's your relationship with your father? He goes, it's totally awesome. And they said, that's it. They turned up the tape, and they put him in a boot camp. And they told the judge, no, that's a separate place for children. We just didn't have a place to put him. And he was in a boot camp. He had to run a mile. He got a hernia while he was working over there. And it took days to get into the hospital on that. It's just unbelievable. They do whatever they want to do.
What's the name of this book?
Profane Justice. My dad got it. I had to leave the state while my kids were being taken, because they made an accusation against me. And they wanted to, they pressured one of my younger kids to say something. And they wanted all the kids to say the same thing. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what Lou is saying, that that Justina, his daughter, has told them that they had a social worker in her face saying, why would you let them put this tube in you? Why would you let your parents do this?
Right. They scare the crap out of them. These kids, I'm telling you, my kids are so badly tormented from all this. You have no idea. It's going to take years of them to ever gain trust of their parents again. Because my youngest was 14 months old when they took him away. And my oldest that they took away was, I think he was 13.
Did it actually happen with your older son? Was he abusive to the kids?
Oh, yeah, there wasn't, my oldest son was 18. He was 3 weeks, he had his birthday 3 weeks ago, on his 18th birthday, and yeah, he did do something, but it wasn't what they said it was. I mean, believe me, I'm not going to go into the details on that, but it was like getting stabbed in the heart every time they'd mention it. They mentioned it over and over again. I'm like, oh my God. And, I couldn't believe this happened. That's why they took my kids away, because I couldn't believe this happened. It never happened the way they said it happened. You know what I'm saying? It was like 10,000 times worse than, I mean, whatever happened was wrong. Don't get me wrong. And my son wasn't sure he could quit, so he told my daughter to tell on us. She never told us, she told the school. And the school took over. And, I mean, oh my gosh. You talk about a whirlwind of coming down on you. I mean, if the school didn't report it, the school would get in trouble. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But once the state they just totally overreacted. The daughter that all this happened to, they put her out to get raped over and over again while they were in the custody of the Child Protective Service. She was like
James,
a little play doll for other people.
I will tell you that our producer, I don't even want to give her name, but our producer on one of our broadcasts, her child, I don't remember what it was, fell down and broke his collarbone.
Did he fall out of bed or something?
Yeah, fell out of bed. For a year, the Department of in Texas, the Department of Family and Children came down, and they had to have reports on the family and treated them just like criminals, absolute and total criminals. And she was traumatized because she's a mom. She was already traumatized by what had happened to her child, and then the way they treated the family was that they were all of a sudden criminals. I mean, it is really expensive to be innocent in today's world. Did you hear what I just said? It is expensive to be innocent in this country. That's a problem. That's a real problem. Mike Rowe is coming up here in just a second. He's in New York, and we're glad to have him part of the broadcast. We'll talk about some of the things that he's been causing trouble lately. Have you noticed that?
I have.
He's been causing
really disappointing. Really disappointing.
It is. I think that's the approach we take. That's the approach we take, don't you think, Stu?
Yeah, I think so. It's disappointing.
We're quite disappointed in Mike Rowe and the trouble he's been causing lately.
It's very sad, and he should make everyone come together, not separate us.
Amen.
Amen.
That's
what he's doing.
We'll talk to him coming up in just a little while.
This is the Glenn Beck Program. The Blaze Radio Network.
You're listening to the Glenn Beck Program.
888-727-BECK, 888-727-BECK. It's the Glenn Beck Program. Been talking about Justina, who, the update, if you haven't heard it, if you're just tuning in today, is that Lou, her father, has now, they're trying to get him charged with contempt of court. I don't know if the judge will actually charge him with that, but that's what, is it DFS? Is that what they call it? DCF in Connecticut. That's what they're trying to do to him. It's incredible. So, but anyway, freejustina.com is trending number one nationally.
Yeah, number one in the United States. We talked about it earlier in the hour. It had just started trending. Now it's all the way up to number one.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And the thing about this is, I don't know. I mean, we talk about so many political issues, and certainly things involved in politics pop into my mind here. Size of government, what's going to happen when you have government running your health care. This sort of stuff's going to happen more and more and more. But really, this is a non-political issue. This is an issue that any liberal should be able to come around and say, wait a minute, this is totally fine. I support these parents' rights because, you have kids, you understand this stuff.
So, if this was me, I don't think I'd be nearly as reasonable as Lou is.
Yeah,
Would you?
You're almost never reasonable.
Well, that's true. So under stress like this, there's no chance I'd be anywhere near reasonable.
The Glenn Beck Program.
The Blaze Radio Network. You're about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
I don't care what Stu says. Mike Rowe's one of the smartest, funniest guys.
Oh.
Well, did you hear what he was saying about you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, my gosh, Mike.
It was sad. It was sad, Mike.
Stu came in a little while ago, and he was like, Mike Rowe is stupid.
That's what he said. He said the biggest, I think was the exact quote, the biggest dummy I've ever met.
The biggest dummy I've ever met.
It was,
and I'm like,
I don't know why.
I don't know why. I think he's an intellectual giant. What are you doing?
There's no accounting for standards or taste anymore.
I know. Man. Well, anyway, I don't care what Stu says. It's always great to have you here.
Hey, it's great to be had.
Always great to have you here. Mike has a new book out, Profoundly Disconnected. And they've only printed 5,000 copies of this, and every dime of it goes to charity, his charity, Microworks. You go to microworks.com to get it?
That'll work.
Microworks.com or profoundlydisconnected.com. And what Mike does, with the money, only God knows, but, what he claims to do with the money is it could really try to turn our whole attitude around on education and on working for a living. There's nothing wrong with having a hard-working job.
Just trying to change the world, Glenn.
That's all you're trying to do.
It's no big deal. Just trying to change the way people think, feel, and act, and define a good job, a good education, that sort of thing.
Right.
You know, it's a PR campaign for hard work, skilled labor. Risk, entrepreneurship.
Can I tell you something? You have gotten, I mean, how much of your day do you spend scratching your head going, what the hell's wrong with people?
Thanks to you, a lot of it. Let me just walk you through last week, briefly,
right.
okay?
Yeah, all right.
Well, it actually starts a couple of weeks ago. I got a call from Walmart, and they say, hey,
great commercial.
Well, thanks. They show it to me and they say, what do you think? You know, the theme of the commercial is, work is a beautiful thing. Microworks has basically been saying that same thing since 2008. I look at the spot. It's about the reopening of factories, right? It's very simple. They say, would you like to narrate it? I said, yeah, I would. You know, we got a lot of shared real estate around this issue. And so I was totally into it. So I narrate it. I go home. The Olympics come on. I see the commercial. Oh, that looks pretty good. I go over to my Facebook, because now, you know, I'm trying to be socially savvy. Mm-hmm. And there's a conversation unfolding about all sorts of things that are interesting to me. And I watch it, you know, and, you know, it's getting fairly heated and passionate. And I think, well, you know what? You know, I'm enjoying a nice bottle of Meritage and having a very civilized evening. So I cut and paste a couple.
You're right, Stu. He's a dummy.
So I cut and paste a couple of questions that are particularly acrimonious, and I address them with what I believe to be an equal measure of humor, directness, and what you call verisimilitude. Right? Mm-hmm. I post these things and I go to bed. Mm-hmm. I get up around 3 a.m. because you know that's what I do nowadays. You know.
Yeah, I know I do.
And I just peek at the Facebook and I see that 1.3 million people have responded to my post. The next morning I get up and I see that the Blaze has taken some of what I've written and responded to it with a really nice article that makes some points that I hadn't thought about. I mean, Stu might have thought about it with a brain like that.
Oh, yeah.
But my tiny reptilian backward.
Right. I know. No, I know. He knows.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. So suddenly, all this, it's just blowing up. Over the next 5 or 6 hours, 7 million people began to interact with a series of posts motivated by this simple commercial. And with your help, we've got this massive, Glenn, I'm telling you, a massive conversation going on.
It's fantastic.
Suddenly, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, everybody wants to talk about all the heat I'm taking online because I appear to be a spokesman for Walmart. I'm not a spokesman for Walmart. I'm a fan of what they're trying to do. And by the way, just so we're clear, the whole point of the commercial is to talk about an investment in buying American goods.
Hold on just a sec. Do we have the commercial?
It's a $250 billion investment over 10 years.
Sarah, can you find the commercial so we can just play it? In case you haven't heard it yet? It is really one of the best. It's one of those, hey, Detroit is back kind of commercials that are coming from a car company that don't mean a damn thing. They're shipping all the jobs away. Yeah, we're an American-built car. Yeah, bull crap you are. Anyway, it's one of those, except this one, they actually, sorry about that, Mike, I think you're one of those bull crap car.
Hey, we should talk about that too, because times are changing.
Yeah. So, here's Walmart, and they actually back it up with $250 million.
No, $250 billion.
Oh, that's right. $250
billion. Trillion, Glenn. Yeah, while we watch the commercial, you and I are going to talk about zeros and the impact they have on numbers.
Yeah, I know. So now, how is this ended up?
Well, who knows? We're right in the middle of it now. But the bottom line is this. It's a hell of a thing when somebody you've been trained to hate suddenly does something that you agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It creates a kind of cognitive dissonance in the minds of a lot of people. So the people who are having the conversation about why Walmart's bad are suddenly confronted with a pledge from Walmart. Look at this as a PO to the United States of America for $250 billion. That's what it is. And it's really unnerving and difficult for a lot of people to talk only about that one thing. They want to have a big, broad, divisive conversation. And look, I'm not the guy to have it with because really I'm not Walmart's spokesman. I narrated this ad, and they're becoming a really interesting partner for me around American manufacturing. And hopefully the same is true. I'll narrate more if they ask me. But where it's headed, I hope, is in a kind of challenge. Because look, forget about Walmart, the company, or Walmart, the store. This is a retailer that's got the resources to fundamentally stimulate the economy in a way that might actually stimulate something.
And not printing money.
So what happens if, Best Buy or Home Depot or Lowe's or pick your favorite company out of the Fortune 500? What happens if all those companies start to say, you know something? In relative terms, we need to follow suit. We simply need to do it. If that happens, look, I'm not an eternal optimist, but if that happens, I think we're back in the game.
So when did, because what I loved in your response, there's nothing inherently bad about being big, and there's nothing inherently good about being small.
Right.
Make that point.
Well, look, Gladwell made it better than I did, and I know you're friends with Malcolm. His book, David and Goliath, is really, really interesting.
Yep.
Because it just challenges all of the things that we've been trained to assume are true about all kinds of things.
Yep.
So, look, Walmart's an easy target. You're an easy target. I'm an easy target. We're public. We take positions, and we have an agenda. I think that far more relevant to the argument about big versus small is this whole notion of PR. Like a lot of people have said, Mike, don't you get it? It's just PR. And my response has been, yeah, I do get it. And it's not just PR. It's PR. And guess what? American manufacturing needs PR.
Right.
Skilled labor needs PR. Alternative education needs PR.
But in their case, it's not just PR. It's a It's $250 billion. That's not PR.
No.
That's not, quite honestly. I saw that, what was it, the Cadillac commercial. It's a great commercial. Well, like, I don't know if you've seen it where the guy's walking out and he's like, we went to the moon. We got bored.
Yeah.
And it's a great ad. It's a great ad. But then it's for General Motors. And they're like, we like to do it ourselves. Bull crap, you do. You took all of our money and you lost it and then you lied to us and said you paid us back. You didn't.
Right.
So, that's a lie. Here, Walmart is. They're not saying, hey, and we believe in this stuff, and we should all work hard, and we're buying all our crap from China. They're actually saying, yeah, we're buying some crap from China, but we're also investing $250 billion.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Sure. And look, it's also equally fair and relevant to say that forget about what Walmart's buying from China. What are we buying from China?
Amen.
Where was that coat? Where was this shirt made? I don't,
right. Right.
Look,
you know what kills me? Is Apple is such a good company and they just love people so much and they're about the little man. What about the people who are throwing themselves off the roofs of their buildings in China to make the iPad? If you really want to be consistent, if you want to be more than just a squeaky wheel, if you really want to be consistent, you would not buy a single Apple product. You wouldn't buy most products in America.
See, that's where I think it's kind of a sucker's bet, right? It's easy for guys like us to say to the American consumer, hey, you got a problem? Shop someplace else. You can't count on the American consumer to do anything that's really not in his or her best interest.
Right.
That's how we're wired.
It's the invisible hand. No, but it's the invisible hand of the market. It is Adam Smith.
Right. And it's Hayek. It's Friedman. I get all that, but we get trapped in a conversation about blame. So is it the consumer's fault for not insisting on American? Is it China's fault for taking the jobs? Is it Walmart's fault for shipping the jobs? All these things are going to be answered differently depending on what side of the aisle you sit on. But one thing is for sure, Walmart's not a manufacturer. They're merchants. If these merchants say to suppliers and makers of goods, hey, you come back here, we'll make it worth your while. We'll make some kind of accommodation. Again, I can't speak for Walmart. I don't know the terms of their deal, but they've done something to bring those people back. That's where the action is. And if we start making stuff here again, a lot of good things will follow consequentially. And that's the thing we've talked about before, and I love to talk to you about it because the temptation to confuse causes with symptoms is the thing that's motivating pretty much every major issue that I can see that's worth talking about today.
All right. The name of the book is Profoundly Disconnected, The True Confession from Mike Rowe. It's only available. There are only 5,000 copies of these, and they've all been personally licked by Mike. So, you've got a little bit of, you don't have his signature, but you have a little bit of his DNA on every book.
You made it creepy, man. It was going so well.
I think there's some disturbing pictures of you in here. But anyway, it's, you can get it at microworks.com. You can get it today. For this audience, and all the money goes to charity. So I'd love to sell all these out today for him.
Hey, can I compliment you real quick to interrupt your plugging of my book?
Stop everything else everybody's doing. Even if you're driving a car, just slam on the brakes. Listen, he's got something important to say.
One of the last things Glenn said to me last time I saw him was, honestly, if you have time, you should write a book or something. So on the flight home, I wrote this book. And look, take this for the disclaimer it is. This is a one-page book. All right. My confession takes one paragraph. I wrote it on a BlackBerry, but when I got home, I started thinking, this is a very skinny manuscript. It's on page 1, Glenn. You can find it.
No, I know.
So while we were talking about all this, I thought, well, you know what? I should get my mom to write the foreword. And then I thought maybe I should write a preface too, because I had a little bit of time. And then I wrote an introduction. And then my partner Mary was like, hey, you know what? You've got all these articles you've written over the years. Why don't you put those in the appendix? So we did that, and then of course there was an afterword and a dedication page, and the next thing you know, I got a book.
But here's what I really like about this book is because Mike takes himself very seriously because he's got a lot to say. Right in the middle of the book is the chapter is called A Bunch of Blank Pages, and it appears to be just a bunch of blank pages there in the book, which
in order to preserve the structural integrity of the book as most people understand it, you need to create enough space between the front and back cover, Glenn. You know this. You're an author yourself.
So I want you to know that he has put a lot of time and energy and thought into this book. Now, if he was just pocketing the money, which I can't prove that he's not, if he was just pocketing the money, it would be wrong. But he's claiming that it all goes to charity. And so, I'm just humble enough to believe him. Stu, on the other hand, who thinks that he's dumb as a box of rocks, says no.
I never liked that guy. Listen, in the interest of complete transparency,
yes,
and because I hate the very notion of buyer's remorse, I'd be willing to read the entire thing. It'll take 35 seconds. I'll read you the most important page of the book, if you want. This is my confession, and it's based on a theory that if everybody agreed with me, all our problems would go away within a week.
All right, we'll do that coming up in just a second. Also, let's play the Walmart ad here, and then I break for commercials, and then we'll come back, and Mike will read the entire important part of the book.
The whole thing. Honey, get in here. He's reading from a book.
Yeah, this is radio.
It's the best radio ever.
It's radio at its best.
At one time, I made things. And I took pride in the things I made. And my belts whirred, and my engines cranked. I opened my doors to all, and together we filled pallets and trucks. I was mighty. And then one day, the gears stopped turning. But I am still here, and I believe I will rise again. We will build things, and build families, and build dreams. It's time to get back to what America does best.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Now,
because work is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, whatever. All I'm thinking about the whole time is, Stu, he's coming on TV tonight. I need a bunch of scripts that are so overly written that he can narrate tonight.
I would be pleased and proud to read on your show anything you write.
So we just need some narration. Can you whip that up for
Got it, sure.
But I mean really good, quality, really substantive, something that means something.
Sure, got
that
it.
he can read tonight at 5:00. Mike will be joining me on this TV show tonight.
Listen online for free at glennbeck.com.
The Blaze Radio Network.
Glenn Beck program returns.
All right, Mike has got to prepare for this. It's going to be quite an ordeal to have him get all the way through this. So we'll set that up. But also, we were talking in the break. I said, Mike, I thought we heard a little something here about the car companies. And then Stu came in and said, "Not talking about car companies." That's what he said. That's what he said.
Why am I being tortured
That's
today?
what I heard. Pat, did you hear that?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, that's what you heard.
Yeah.
And I said, no, we are going to talk about the car company thing, and I want to know a little bit about that. And so I want to talk to Mike about what's happening at Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a little bit of news there?
Well, it depends on how you define news. Certainly in my personal world, it's news. But after 7 years, we're going in different directions, and I'm wishing them every possible success that any car company could ever have. But a great run for me. But Ford and I are, not Ford and I.
It's an interesting thing, and I want to talk about that coming up in just a little bit more, in a little bit more detail, because I think Mike is where a lot of people are. I got to stand with the people who are standing up and doing things. Walmart, it seems to be one of those companies that really standing up and doing things. I mean, at least they're, everything means something now. We're running out of time to just be spectators.
It's not a dress rehearsal. It's happening. We're in it.
Okay. So he's gonna like beautiful poetry. Mike will be reading from his new book, Profoundly Disconnected, available at microworks.com right now. All the proceeds go to charity. Buy one now.
Beck program.
The Blaze Radio Network. Glenn Beck.
I'll tell you something. In my dream world, the Blaze would have a show, a daily show from Mike Rowe. It'd have a daily show from Malcolm Gladwell. But in my dream world, I also have $1 billion.
Well, you wouldn't after those shows went on the air. I can tell you that.
Exactly right. Mike has more to say that the American people need to hear than I think. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anybody else in America that I would rather have you listen to, because I know every time I'm with him, you teach me something, and you do, and you just know how to distill it and say it in such a way where you just can't argue with it. I want to get into the minimum wage. I want to talk about a little bit more about what happened with Ford, but I want you to go ahead and read a little of the book. Now, okay. This is from Profoundly Disconnected. This is a book that he spent almost an entire airplane ride. Was it a coast-to-coast airplane ride? Or
no, it was from Dallas back to San Francisco.
Oh, my gosh, how did you...
So what I'm about to read right now was originally written on a BlackBerry, and what it started as was the distillation of everything I learned from Dirty Jobs to the most important thing I learned from Dirty Jobs to what could be, in my view, you know, if we all agreed on one thing, what sort of impact could that one thing have on everything from the skills gap to the infrastructure to unemployment to everything? So here's what this is my confession. All right, and you'll see, I'll show you, I've signed it, and there's a place for people to co-sign too. So this is an interactive book.
Wow, this is incredible.
Okay.
How did you get this done?
Here we go.
Yes.
You guys don't have any music or anything.
Do we have any music, Sarah? Can you put any music together?
I mean, I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
What sort of feel are you looking for?
Yeah, what are you looking for?
Something wistful, yet earnest.
No, that's not.
That's playful and insane. So I'm looking for kind of a thoughtful, introspective, revealing, not bad. Little overwrought, but I like it. Go ahead, crank it up. Here we go. From page 1, Profoundly Disconnected, a true confession from Mike Rowe. Yes. I am an addict. I am addicted to smooth roads, hot water, and indoor plumbing. I am a slave to sturdy foundations and affordable energy. I depend on others to grow my food, and I rely on people I've never met to keep the lights on. I'm enamored of civilized life and totally reliant upon the hard-working men and women who provide it. I understand that without these people, without their skills and work ethic, polite society would crumble, and I would be in some very deep doo-doo. Signed by me, co-signed by you. Glenn, in a world where we all confessed our addiction to the aforementioned qualities, would we not be better prepared to have an intelligent discourse about the very things we define as problems? I rest my case.
And then he did. Then it's followed by a bunch of blank pages.
But an appendix chock full of prior thoughts.
No, you've got a lot of other things in there, but you've also got about 30 pages that are completely and totally blank, just so it looks like a thicker book than it is.
Not a lot of profound writings end with the word doo-doo.
No, they don't, Stu, and I thank you for pointing that out. I actually, if you take doo-doo and run it through a thesaurus, you'll see endless other possible synonyms, but I went for the childlike, yet,
Was poo-poo one of them?
Poo-poo was one of them, so was poo, and so was poop.
But you chose not to go with poo-poo.
No, I'm not a child, Pat.
So, as Mike and I were in the break, he's sitting here, and I've got, a bunch of computer screens. Most of them are blank, except one that keeps fascinating me is we're getting live feeds from the Ukraine, and they are, Kiev's on fire today. And what happens there? Pretty simple. The Ukraine calls out and says, hey, we need help, and Russia comes in to help them, and lo and behold, Putin has Ukraine back. Congratulations on that. But that's what's coming, and the whole world is being set on fire, and it's being set on fire because of income inequality, Mike.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's income inequality.
Huh, how about that? I thought we were going to go with, who said, it was Santa Ana, right? You don't learn from history, you're pretty much doomed to repeat it. We've seen this.
I was going with Churchill, but
that's not bad either.
I'll take Santa Ana.
Whoever smelt it, dealt it. I think that was Dr. Seuss, but look, no. I'm not sure, Glenn. There's a lot going on.
So how do you argue on income inequality? Because that's what people believe now, that there are equal outcomes.
I remember when I was in middle school or maybe even elementary school, I didn't get grades for my classes. I got 2 grades for each class, right? I got my grade, and then there was this column for effort.
Mm-hmm.
Remember A for effort?
I do.
So, in some courses I would get an A for effort, but a C for an outcome because I tried real hard, but as it turns out I was a moron. In other courses, I'd get an A for the outcome, but a C for effort, because as it turns out, that stuff came easy, and the teacher was a little discouraged because I kind of mailed it in. That's the way the world works, right?
And that's the only ones I ever got in trouble with my dad. The only ones he ever said. He would look at it, and if I got a D, but an A for effort, he'd say, good job.
Look, we've talked about it so many times, but when you're able to, you ought to try and identify the thing that you want to encourage and reward it as best you can. In my own little scholarship, we award work ethic scholarships. There are a lot of different ways to go. Some scholarships go with academic achievement, some go with need-based, some go with athletic achievement, others go with talent. But who's rewarding work ethic? Like really affirmatively rewarding it. Mm-hmm. So it's not that we don't reward those other things, but you have to choose. You have to respect the chronology of logic. And if it doesn't start with a willingness to try, then you're rewarding something else. And if you're rewarding that thing out of sequence, mm-hmm. It doesn't mean the thing is bad. It just means you skipped ahead. That's what I meant before, cause and symptom, right? Garbage in, garbage out. If you start with, somebody wrote a book a while ago, really made me laugh because it's called ROWE, my last name, ROWE, but it stands for Results-Oriented Work Environment, which I really liked because you start with, this is where we want to wind up, but now let's talk about how we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So look, effort and results aren't opposite things. They're two sides of the same coin.
What do you think about, Keith Ellison said, a couple of weeks ago, he's a congressman out of Minneapolis, and he said, the great thing is, sure, we lost 2.5 million jobs, but you're going to have more time to be at home and to maybe paint or to do whatever you want. We now found out the CBO says that we have lost how many jobs because of...
We would lose 500,000 jobs.
500,000 jobs because the president is raising the minimum wage himself unilaterally, and he said that it will cost 500,000 jobs. I mean, Uncle Sam is becoming a serial job killer. But their excuse is this is a good thing because people will have more free time.
Yeah.
To be able to do what they want.
Let me try and respond to that. Look, the easy and obvious thing to do is to say a political thing that I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. Let me say it a slightly different way.
Sure.
The first really fun lesson from Dirty Jobs that I made a whole special out of, because look, I don't have any original thoughts. Everything I think I know I learned from the dirt. And the first lesson had to do with passion. And it's based on a platitude that I believe is fundamentally wicked. You've heard it 1,000 times. Follow your passion, period. Follow your passion, period. People on Dirty Jobs are passionate about what they do, but almost to a man, they didn't follow it. You don't follow your passion into a sewer, but you can go into a sewer, learn how to be very good at what you do, learn to love it, and then prosper. So our alternative platitude regarding this topic was never follow your passion, but always bring it with you. What Ellison is arguing, and what a lot of people seem to believe, is that your passion, like some sort of pole star, should be your compass and your guide. And I think that's a false north, right? You don't need to identify the source of your happiness when you're 18 and spend the rest of your life chasing it. We read books about people who have done that and prospered, and so we think that that's the way. But in real life, the real life I've seen, the most passionate, engaged, successful, prosperous, happy, and balanced people never followed their passion. They brought it with them. And if they wanted to learn to paint or do something good for the soul, they did it in the cracks. I wrote a book on a plane.
Right.
Okay? Because
I don't know if we can call that a book.
I don't know if I could call it a plane either. It was a it was a very weird afternoon.
But, okay, good. All right.
But yeah, you get the point. You know, you can work in the cracks. You can do good things, and you do them on your own time.
Right.
Right? I mean, you don't get paid to follow your passion.
I've been saying to people just recently, I just gave a speech at a radio conference, and I heard somebody say in a speech before mine, I can't find a job in talk radio because nobody will hire me because and unfortunately I followed him, and I said, I'm running one of those companies.
Yeah.
And I've got Blaze Radio up, and we're the only, out of the top 20 streams, we're the only stream out of top 20 in America that has one feed. One. Yeah. Everybody else has a minimum of 50 feeds. And in the next year, we'll be top 10. And we'll have one feed.
Yeah.
And how did that start? And I've got two executives that their job is to make sure that thing is on the air every day. But their main job is to go and start to look at people who have podcasts. Because those people they're just sitting in their basement, they're sitting in their apartment, they're doing something. I got a guy who does Doc and Skip that do a show, and they got into a car and they went on the road for 30 days at their own expense. Yep. They just did it. And I said, stop telling me that you can't, you're being stopped by something. And there's never been more opportunity than there is right now. You can just do it. So do it.
I'm sitting here with you today because for the last 10 years, every single state that I've been to, every job I've worked on, I've seen one thing that's consistent: help wanted signs.
Yeah.
In spite of the headlines, in spite of everything I've heard, the people I've worked with on dirty jobs were always hiring.
For that.
Listen, Caterpillar, who I mentioned to you before, I've been working with them for a few years. Yeah. They paid me to write this fake book. That is to say, they paid for the publishing of the book. That's why all the money can come back to charity, and the reason that they did it is because they literally have thousands of jobs right now. Heavy equipment mechanics up in the high plains, good grief, $80,000, $90,000 a year. They'll train you for free. They can't find people.
I'm thinking about leaving. You almost talked me into it. I'm thinking about leaving it right now. I'm in New York City. I'm right behind you. I'm looking at Times Square going, High Plains, really? What do I have to, where's the number to call?
1-800-freeze your butt off.
Back in just a second, and I want to go into, because Mike has, parted company with, Ford. And as you know, if you're a long-time listener of this program, I parted company with, General Motors, because for different reasons, I presume, but, I love General Motors. I thought General Motors was on the right track. I drove their hydrogen car for a month. It was absolutely fantastic. New administration comes in, they take a bailout, and the first thing they do is abandon the hydrogen car. I talked to all their executives. That's not what they wanted to do. They believed in that damn thing. And I did too. And they just went a different direction. And I remember saying to them, I love you guys. I love you guys. I believe in you guys. But you're in bed now with the government, and you're going in you're selling yourself out. I know what you told me 3 months ago and what you're doing now. And there comes a time when a man just has to say, that was a 7-figure deal. And that was at a time we really needed it. And I walked away from it. Because there comes a time when a guy's got to say, you know what? I wish you well. You're doing great things. And I told them this. When you get yourself back on track on who you are, I'm there. Because I believe in you. I believe in the workers. I believe in what you were trying to do. You don't believe in it anymore. I want to hear a little bit of Mike and commenting on what's happening with him and his relationship for a long time at Ford.
The Glenn Beck Program.
Again broadcasting from
the Blaze Radio Network.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Wow, we have so much to talk about. We'll continue this conversation at 5 o'clock on Blaze TV.
How much time we got then?
We got about 90 seconds.
Right now?
Oh, no, right now we have about 90 seconds.
Oh, okay.
On TV, we've got about 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So,
your fans should definitely change, because it's just, I think we can do a lot with 40 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're just getting started. Tell me quickly about, your feeling that, being the guy with the hat and saying the funny lines on a Ford commercial is time has come for that to. Yeah,
look, nothing bad to say. One of the finest companies in the history of companies.
Yeah.
Never mind the contribution to the automobile. They perfected mass assembly.
Right.
I'm a massive fan. Always have been.
Yeah.
Great run, 7 years. When Alan Mulally sat there in front of Congress and didn't take the money, I vowed to stay as long as they'd have me.
Right.
But honestly, what I'm really focused on right now is partnering around initiatives like the one we were talking about before. I want to talk about manufacturing. I want to talk about skilled labor. I want to talk about the idea that employers and employees aren't enemies of each other, and that we've all got skin in the game. So that's the campaign I'm looking for.
We'll talk a little bit more about that tonight on the Blaze TV, 5 o'clock. See you then.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
The Blaze Radio Network.